right, so we're out with our cows. We do a rotational grazing model here at Harvest Haven. That back fence moves forward and the front fence moves forward, so the cows are moving to a new block every 24 hours. So 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we come out and all we gotta do is move 2 wires, and that's how we move all our cows forward every day. And the purpose of it is it's kind of many-fold. First of all, you're moving your cows away from their dung, which means they're moving away from their parasites and their flies. You're also moving the cows away from the plants that they just grazed. Because the #1 problem with grass shortage, like this summer we have a drought, everybody's crying about grass shortage. Very few people are talking about rotational grazing. And even the people that are talking about rotational grazing are talking about moving their cows every couple weeks, maybe every week. In my experience, and the experience of a few other farmers, it's every day that matters. At least every 3 days. But when you start, even when you go from moving your cows every 2 days to every single day, life explodes. Because what happens when you have a plant that gets grazed is that if it gets stepped on or regrazed when it's trying to regrow, then it gets set back again and has to borrow from the roots again. And if your cows are still there 3 days later when it puts up that baby shoot and it gets eaten again, you're setting your plants back for a month. And so when you just have your cows inside of this block, and that's exactly enough grass for them, when they're done, it'll be, I'm sure you can see in the distance there, where the tractor is maybe, that the grass has been grazed right down. But the cows have no access to that grass at this point until next summer sometime. But we don't allow animals to graze any block of ground on the farm for more than 1 day out of every 3 months. They don't even get to walk on it. So we've actually got water lines buried in all of our pastures so that we can move the water with the cows. So it's the reason why the grass they're grazing is just beautiful at this time of year, even after a hot summer. And now, that's the benefit for the animals' health and the benefit for the grasses. But you also get that benefit in the quality of the meat, not just in the cleanness of it, not just in the flavor, but the tenderness and the marbling of the meat. Because the only advantage that a feedlot has over the grass-fed beef is that in a feedlot, you're bringing all the calories that cow needs right to the cow in their small pen. The water's right there. They eat, they drink, they lay down, and they chew their cud. And animals will lactate and gain weight and fat only when they're resting, when they're in a relaxation state. And so the reason people have complaints about grass-fed beef and its gaminess, or it's not tender, it's not because of grass. It's because the cows are simply not able to get enough calories in fast enough so that they can lay down and chew their cud. In this production model, I like to call it a mobile grass feedlot, because the feedlots did figure something out. They figured out how to make tender meat, and people have known this for centuries. Millennia ago, they would have cows penned up, and they would harvest grass, and they would bring it to the cow, because they didn't have electric fences that could do this so easily. And that's how you would fatten, right? They were stall fattened animals. That's a really labor intensive, and you're also not moving them away from their manure. So it's not a perfect system. So here, we move them, as you can, they just got moved maybe a few hours ago. They're just starting to pack their faces. That's why they're all eating and nobody's lying down. So they're all just gonna keep eating and eating until their rumens are full, and they're all just gonna lay down and start putting on the pounds. And so we're able to get the same quality of marbling without having to feed the animals grain. And when you feed an animal grain, you change the whole balance. Their rumen becomes acidic, which means that the bacteria in there can start learning how to tolerate acidity, which is why we're starting to see E. coli in a clean animal like a cow. We're starting to see some of these bacterial problems affecting the slaughterhouses, and that's a result. It's a result of grain, straight up. It's not a result even of the cleanliness in their facilities. It's a result of feeding animals grain. And so when you can get them onto grass and maintain their natural habitat, maintain their neutral pH in their rumen, you have safe meat, you have clean meat, you have tasty meat, the tenderness is there, you get the best of every single world, and then it's the best for your pasture, it's the best for the birds, and just bees, right? A lot of times you'll get people and they'll release a whole bunch of animals, or they'll even cut their hay, and you'll get 80 acres of land or hundreds of acres of land, and they cut it all to the ground on the same day, and the bees go from having all of this land with all of this about to bloom alfalfa, and they go to nothing. It's all on the ground, it's all drying up. And so in this model, because they're grazing it one block at a time, behind the cows a couple weeks, the pasture begins to bloom, and it's a delayed thing. So you get this wave, almost like a wave through the crowd at the stadium. You get this wave of blooms. And so the bees on your farm always have constant access to blooming pasture. And so it's just, there isn't a single organism or farm animal or human being that isn't benefiting from this. And then you're pulling out more carbon dioxide out of the air than a boreal forest per acre. You get incredible carbon sequestration. And so now you're putting that carbon in the ground, which means any water running over your ground is being filtered. And so we're providing this beautiful environmental service to our community. And if you started farming everywhere like this, oh man, it'd be like heaven on earth, just straight across the country. There's nothing uglier than conventional agriculture and the desolation and despair and bankruptcy and disease that it leaves behind. And this is lightweight, it's beautiful, it's affordable, it's practical, it's efficient. It's just heaven. And there's no grass shortage here, but I just want to show people the kind of grass that we've got growing here. Right, that's just one handful, and it's just about a whole fist worth. On pasture like this, we're getting anywhere between 80 and 100 60-pound bales per acre when we're cutting hay. And we've got about 160 foot by 160 foot block here, and I think we've got close to 40 head in here. And that's plenty of grass for all of them for a full 24 hours, with enough leftovers to cover the soil and keep it moist and feed the microbes. So it's just a beautiful production system, and yeah, we're really excited about it for sure.